What's up, everyone? This is the Go Along Podcast here live at Fatty Beer Company in Orchard Park, New York. I'm Tyler Dunn here with Jim Monis with a nice brick background, Jim. I love it when we get here in person. Never disappoints.
No, always knowledge gained. The selection of beer is always outstanding. Got a little light beer today, a My Time light beer. It's a summery day in Buffalo in early November. And I'm going to say summery for Buffalo. It's kind of springish for Charleston, South Carolina, but I am feeling Charleston vibes today. So I feel like this is, I just wanted a light beer, enjoy the weather, talk some football.
Yeah, usually if we're talking about the weather, it's, you just want to punch somebody in the face. Nobody likes talking about the weather. But it's legit.
It's usually
really warm
a sign you have nothing in common with somebody.
Like I usually people just turn the podcast right off.
Right.
But it's really warm. Historically warm.
I think it was more, I was trying to at least explain the light beer selection.
Well, I went IPA still. Lawson's Finest Liquid, Sip of Sunshine.
There's no rule.
8%er.
But that's the thing. The selection had you, at Fatty, the selection had you a little...
I was flustered, yeah. I was like, Charlie Kelly up at the board on Always Sunny, Pepe Sylvia, a lot of calculations going on here.
I can tell you from our good time here at Fatty last week before the Bills game, Chris and I, the Fatty beer did not necessarily help our knowledge of football. We both felt very confident. We broke the Rams 49ers game down thoroughly outside, enjoying the beer. And we both came to the conclusion that there was no way the Rams were losing this game. Coming off a bye week. Everything. They've been owned, right? 49ers own the Rams. No way could they lose. So, Chris, that's why we don't gamble unless responsibly. And don't ever think that all the beer you drink at Fatty will give you knowledge for gambling.
Little did you know, Christian McCaffrey would...
What? Just the old chemistry. You got to be there in the off season and get that chemistry together with the team.
Hey, that only applies to a quarterback and
Jimmy G is.
Yeah, right.
And we talked. Okay, we'll get into the 49ers.
All right. Well, we talked a lot about Green Bay this week. We talked a lot about Buffalo this week. We tend to do that on the podcast.
Right.
So we figured, all right, this episode, we'll hit on the games a little bit. We'll preview the action.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
But at the same time, we know, folks might be listening to this after the game. So we have our mid-season re-prognostications out. So let's think big picture. We know the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles. Let's just, let's spend an hour or whatever talking about a team or two that can threaten.
Yes,
that could get hot right now.
The threats.
And you believe it. Because we've got 8 games. We've watched these teams. Who do you think could legitimately...
So, who are the obvious threats at this point, right? The obvious threats. So we're not gonna stun anybody. But Baltimore Ravens, to me, are an obvious threat when healthy, defensive. But that with Lamar, that's an obvious threat to me.
No doubt.
Okay, you feel that way with Baltimore. I know in your predictions, I think we all might have Baltimore. Or no, did you have Cincinnati? So now
I'm not throwing in the towel on my Bengals quite yet.
The Jamar Chase thing does have me a little confused, but I saw a great stat today about that 2020 draft class. Tua, Herbert, Burrow, and I'm forgetting another guy that has a lot of wins.
Jalen Hurts.
Oh my goodness. Burrow is by far the worst of the 4 win-loss record. They showed it. It's crazy. But that class has certainly put themselves on the map compared to, we'll talk about that.
Well, look at 2020 versus 2021.
What was my biggest disappointment in the article? The 21 class of quarterbacks is just like.
But you know what, Jim? You saw that coming. I mean, really.
I kept saying in the office, I said, we need to see steps. It didn't show last year, but you don't want to be too hard on rookies. And I know we're getting on the quarterbacks, but I think I put on the article too. I think Fields is finally being used right. Yeah. He's basically a rookie. Let's face it. I mean, that first year, and that's how they never make it. But I am kind of want to keep my eye on the Bears, just how they keep using him.
Could he be Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but you're way too humble of a human being, so I'll just say it. as we podcasted a ton leading up to that draft, and I can remember as all of us were drooling over Trevor Lawrence, obviously,
Yeah,
but even Zach Wilson's drawing praise from our buddy Chris Sims.
Yeah.
Trey Lance and everything that he could do.
Yeah.
Granted, we haven't really seen him yet. Mac Jones. You were high on Justin Fields.
It's just
And other than that, you were pretty lukewarm on everybody
else was.
And if you look at it now, Fields looks like the best of the bunch.
Because of that, you could use him because of guys like Hurts and Lamar and guys that have a skill set.
That Hurts blueprint is looking pretty damn good in Chicago right now.
If they can find, because all of a sudden their offenses, they're letting Fields loose. And right now, this is what he is. He's a one-read guy. He wants to make plays with his legs. That's okay. So is Cam Newton, and develop.
Trying like hell to trade Kyler Murray for something so I can start Fields on my fantasy team.
I will say
I think this second half he's going to take
the other thing with Fields too. I mean, he is. Watch any game. The toughness is just like, I love that. So anyway, all right.
I'll never forget that hit he took against Clemson. I mean, remember that hit?
Yes.
There were 6 touchdowns that game, I think.
Ridiculous game.
Yeah.
The biggest stage.
Yeah.
Like this, it's not big for him. But these guys need. We've talked about it so much. They need help. They need a coach that can see what they do well. Greg Williams, great defense coordinator in the NFL forever, especially with the Saints when I was there. But I love that in scouting meetings. He always said that. Tell me what they do, and that's how I'm going to use them. Why would I not?
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. He used to say that all the time too.
Every time.
Or no, he would say it can't be that simple.
Every time Greg Williams comes up, I mean, I'm so glad I talked to him for the blood and guts here. I mean, I saw that line he had on nickel corners needing to like be tough, and it was something like, "You need a guy with balls," and then he paused. He goes, "Nuts."
You've been around him because that was pretty dead on.
Just in case case I didn't know what he was getting at with balls, he continued with nuts.
Can't stop. But anyway, right? It's just so those classes are fascinating. That whole thing, because you think it like Hurts and Tua right now.
Well, I think we expected. I mean, I sure as hell did. I wrote about a jump out of Trevor Lawrence. After that Chargers game, I was all in. I'm like, we're seeing it.
How about me? And Jim picked the Jaguars maybe to win the division this year.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's just sad.
And
we just all want the Jaguars to win. I feel like just deep within our souls.
It'd almost be strange. Like that success they have with Marone, it's almost like, did that really happen? Like, boy, they were good. They were good.
Sure, that did wonders for his ego as a
defensively.
Coach. Yeah.
Got Denver their head coach. But the threats. Back to the threats. I do agree with you. Cincinnati should be considered right there with Baltimore. They've earned that right for sure. That offense. They're like. We're going to talk about another team. There's certain teams in the AFC right now. These are the great offenses in the NBA. When they're on fire, it's like you're not doing anything to stop it. Baltimore, when Lamar is loose, forget it. Cincy, when that offense, you're not stopping it. And here's another threat right in the division, Miami.
All right, well, let's hit on Baltimore. Yeah. You get into Baltimore, I'll get into Miami a bit, because these are two teams that made major moves at the deadline, right? Yeah. So Baltimore, they get Roquan Smith. Sideline to sideline.
They need it.
Monster.
They need that energy and attitude on that defense right now. That they're close to, when they're healthy in the secondary, they're good. Not great, but good. They need that kind of enforcer in there.
And Miami went after Bradley Chubb and then handed him a massive contract.
You know I'm all about this. I mean, I'm all.
They're both chasing Kansas City, Buffalo, right?
Right.
That's what they're doing.
And the only way you're going to beat them is you're going to have to stop those quarterbacks. Roquan Smith, Chubb, those guys will help you on defense. And that's the only way you're going to slow. You got to slow them down. You're never going to stop them, but slow down Allen, slow down Mahomes somehow, because your offenses are electric. Like you can outscore these guys. AFC playoffs.
It's going to be fun. I think it's.
Did we forget anybody? I mean, real quick. I know we just did. I kind of feel like
Yeah, I definitely want to get into those two teams in the AFC, but
For AFC wise,
we'll stay in that
yeah,
conference.
Miami, Cincy,
the
Baltimore.
Jets are frauds.
Yeah, not good enough on offense.
The Patriots, it's like every time you want to run the numbers in your head,
you
and think Belichick could have a lane here. It's hard to get past Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, and the situation on quarterback.
Agreed.
I mean, Cleveland's going to get Deshaun Watson.
Well, now, okay, there you go.
What happens?
Because I'm not a Cleveland hater, because that offense.
You called it.
Yeah.
The win against Cincinnati.
There's some things on that team. They're playing they're one of the best first half teams right now in the NFL. And that's a clear sign. I've tracked this over the years. It's a clear sign of a good football team. Teams that come out and get the lead, hold on to the lead. They don't always hold on to the lead. But they're playing well right now in the first half. That tells me we all know Brissett. He's not the answer. Great backup. What you want is a number 2 for sure. Ideal. But man, now
Amari Cooper looks like a star.
He's so good.
I mean,
always has been.
Jerry Jones has done
this
kind of stuff before, but like he overpays for him in the moment, and then it tries to get out of that contract. They trade him for a 5th round pick. And now Amari Cooper looks like a player that was worth every penny of that original Cowboys contract. It's who the market.
You said it best. How do you explain? There's certain things that are hard to explain.
He also, is doing everything in his power for Ezekiel Elliott.
This is where I was going to go with it. The amount of time they spend on this running back thing, it's like, are you paying attention to anything that's going on in football? You're fighting over these running back carries, and we've talked about this. I'm not against the running game, but just make sure you want to score some points throwing the ball too.
I want to get your front office perspective on that just while we brought it up. So Tony Pollard just explodes, right? 3 touchdowns, 150 yards, whatever it was. And again, this is like the 3rd time he's done it. The owner, Jerry Jones, publicly says, this is Zeke's team. He's the main guy. We're going to run through Zeke. And obviously it makes no sense because Pollard has just wildly outproduced Zeke at this point. They're going to move on from Zeke after this year. Contractually, they'd be stupid to keep him.
I would agree.
Do you think that Jerry Jones is just trying to keep Zeke into it mentally and is coddling him, just trying to keep him upbeat and focused and optimistic about the season? Or is Jerry Jones really that stupid?
That's good. Probably go. Okay, let's do it this way.
It's bad either way.
Let's do it this way.
Trying to coddle.
If we're not there, I'm not guessing. Okay, I'm not guessing on what goes on in that building. But I don't have to guess on if the owner does want something done in any building, it's going to get done. Whether it's Irsay, Snyder, Terry Pagula, it's going to happen. Well, maybe not Patrick Mahomes, but for the most part, if the owner wants something done, it's going to get done. So we don't know what's.
Only you oblige, Jim.
They wouldn't have the too good to be true. Josh Allen. We did Buffalo favor.
Beats him in the regular season. Give him that.
Anyway. All right. So, but the Dallas thing is, that team has my interest. I mean, I'm intrigued by Dallas right now because they're another team I do think offensively. If Dak is right. I like Lamb. That defense is
strong.
Dan Quinn, good job.
Okay, this thing, I got off track.
I know, we're all
AFC. So, all right, you've got two top dogs.
We have the teams that can score with the Bills and Chiefs. Those are the threats. You have to score with those guys.
Did you see that no quarterback in the NFL has been blitzed more than Lamar Jackson?
Amazing.
It's interesting that's how teams are trying to stop him, is just sending bodies his way, just kind of like an avalanche.
You're almost right. And then almost forces him. You almost force him to go a certain way by the blitz, so you know where he might be. Is maybe the thinking? I don't know, but I can tell you, man, if you aren't trying to stop him somehow creatively, I don't know how you stop him.
I mean, Rashad Bateman, though,
using
him is big. So now you're down to Demarcus Robinson and Devin Duvernay,
Deshaun Jackson.
I mean,
Duvernay.
They go through their tight ends.
I do like which. We talk about Greg Roman. We joke, man, the way he does utilize tight ends. I don't know if I've ever been around anybody as good. I mean, let me say this. I haven't been and Andy Reid and Sean Payton use tight ends outstanding. I don't know if they use as many tight ends as well as Greg Roman does. They all are unbelievable tight ends. So I think what it shows me is you can still be, you don't have to have the big time wideouts if you are that creative with tight ends because they're matchup nightmares for defenses.
Isaiah Likely, go long happy hour.
I know, and you were on him like early.
Well, hey, I've
a
missed
good one.
my fair share.
No, you can't go. Well, don't. No.
I like Likely though.
He's a perfect complement to Andrews.
Just watching him at Coastal. I mean, we had the story on Coastal Carolina kind of building a power down south, and so I'd watch their games as much as I could, and I didn't even care what the competition is. I mean, he is just a big, strong, athletic, soft hands, like every trait you could want in a tight end he possesses, and I think that his role is going to grow now with Bateman out. You're going to see a lot of those two tight end sets.
That's exactly right. And Greg Roman's equipped to handle that. He'll. That's okay for Roman.
You think that they can really keep up though with Buffalo and Kansas City? You know,
I don't. No. I still think they're a threat though because that's me. Just my opinion. My opinion doesn't matter when you're on the field with Lamar. So.
Yeah, Lamar is.
That's what I'm saying. You can't. What I always tell this story about Jim Johnson in Philadelphia, the great D coordinator, when we played the Atlanta Falcons in Philly, early 2000s.
Yeah.
He hated playing against Michael Vick because he said anything he came up with, game plan wise, didn't matter.
He just throws it out the window.
And that's what I mean. It's so hard to predict what you're going. You can try your best. So anyway, I do think this. I think all those teams are threats to the Bills and Chiefs. Like this thing isn't. It's never like we talk about every week. It's never easy. So it's the AFC playoffs. I can't wait for that. Right? Let's just get there.
I think the Saints beat Baltimore Monday night.
Oh yeah, I can see it in New Orleans. I have a rule.
Superdome
at night.
At night, the voodoo's working.
Just bet it. Don't overthink it. You'll hit more than you'll lose on that.
Yeah.
Might not, but yes, it's just a different beast down there at night. And that team, well, you're doing some. I know the toughness on that team.
Yeah.
Namely, Demario Davis.
Demario Davis will have a takeout on him Monday. It's runs. Kind of went a direction I wasn't expecting with that story, Jim. Honestly,
that has me scared too.
Well, he's
not scared, but like, is it like
he's a spiritual dude. More so than a lot of players are. I mean, he really got into all the different conversations he's had with God since he was a kid. So I think the story will be pretty enlightening. And, it just got me thinking, like, we're getting off the rails here.
I know. It happens. It happens,
right?
Fatty Friday.
But in this profession where there's so much that's out of your control, right? Like injury, getting replaced, just week to week, anything can happen, and it's the most violent game on earth. It can mentally just send you in a really, really dark place. I mean, we've talked to a lot of players who have battled depression, right? And you've seen it. You didn't even know Sammy Watkins was going through what he was going through.
That's why when I said scary, it's because of this.
But
car crashes.
Completely.
Every linebacker.
But it just kind of hit me that this is why so many NFL players are devoutly religious. You have to find something to just let go.
Whatever it is.
I mean, I consider myself fairly religious, right? Like most Americans believe in God, believe in a higher power. But Demario Davis kind of takes it to a different level, and I think that ability to just let go has guided him through some pretty brutal trials and tribulations. So, I think New Orleans at 3-5 in the NFC South. Yeah, give me New Orleans.
Just go through and look at some of those. Don't count them out.
Yeah.
Dalton in that division, like right now, that division is wide open.
Michael Thomas is done again.
Of course, but it's almost like you weren't counting on it anyway.
Kind of forgot about it.
Now, I will say, with Kamara needs to stay on that field for this thing to come true.
They do.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at the Ravens' schedule, though. So even if they lose to the Saints Monday
night, which honestly, they're a playoff team. Yeah, whatever.
Get a load of this: Panthers, Jaguars, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons,
Right.
Steelers, Bengals. That's the rest of the Ravens schedule.
There's the run. If they're trying to now, something crazy happens, Bills, KC, now you're fighting for a possible home, you never know how it's going to shake out. That's really, we already know all these teams are going to be in the playoffs. Now it's home field, which we'll get into that probably in playoff time.
They're kind of due for
I don't know.
some good juju toward the end of the season after last year. I mean, Baltimore was down to they were down to 6th and 7th stringers.
Their health,
Tyler Huntley,
but it's like with their health, it's always something. Their secondary, Bateman, running backs.
Yeah,
they are always banged up.
They are
always.
I love Gus Edwards when he's out there.
So good. There it is.
I know. So that's what has you concerned then.
Yeah. Miami needs it. Miami's trying. They know they need to stop the quarterback. Go get. I love that. Love it. Just what the Bills did. How are we gonna beat Mahomes one way? Von Miller, come on. How are we gonna beat Josh Allen, Mahomes?
What do you see in Bradley Chubb?
Everything. I will say this: he's not he's different as far as what he is. He's so big and straight ahead, powerful. For a tall guy, he actually plays with pretty good leverage. He's not that bend around the corner type player. The athletic, Von Miller is Von Miller's the elite of the bend guys, I call them. The Khalil Macks. Those are your elite athletic ends. Chubb's a powerful, but hand use. He's a student of the game. Oh, that made me just think of Myles Garrett when I just said the elite. That's the best. I put on that. If you didn't want to give the MVP to a quarterback, you can go ahead and give it to him.
I saw that.
I love him. He's unbelievable. But I love that what Miami did though.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. You have to attack.
Where are they getting this money? I guess if you have a quarterback.
Worry about it later. Go get Rams. How the Rams doing with all that?
Yeah.
They're still smoking cigars every night. Oh, they're still McVay. They're still laughing. Hey, it got you a Super Bowl.
You might as well do it if you're Miami.
Go get it, and then worry about the consequences later.
And I think you've seen enough in Tua Tagovailoa to say, okay, we can load. I mean, they started loading up with Tyreek Hill, obviously, in the offseason, but just ramp it up a notch.
The combination of Tua and Mike McDaniel is working. McDaniel knew exactly what he wanted to do with this offense. Exactly. You could see it. And the funny thing is, you can see how Gesicki, they're having a tough time really keeping him. His production has fallen off. He's become a red zone guy, which is okay. But is he happy about it? They don't care. But, I mean, I'm saying it's funny how McDaniel knows let's spread it out. Let's go to work. You can play action, get rid of the ball quick.
It's not even overly complicated, but you need to make decisions fast when you're the quarterback. You can see with Tua,
every time.
He just has to know
he knows
where is that hole in the defense and just throw the ball to the hole.
And then
you know what I mean?
Let them go. Let them go.
Then just let him go. And he can make that decision quick. He can make it quick. His handling of the ball, with the ball fakes and just getting it out as fast, as decisive. There's no wasted motion.
I love his attitude and toughness. He and Hurts, man. That Alabama toughness is real.
It is.
There's a reason they were champions.
We forget about that toughness.
I love talking about that because I think it just separates everybody. The toughness, the mental too, mental and physical. Because what Tua had to deal with this year, he's never dealt with before in his life.
And culturally too, there's something to that Polynesian, they're tougher on the island.
I could tell you, yes, my experience with anybody from that culture, defensive tackles, whatever position, linebackers, they're all the same.
Yeah.
They run through walls, fearless. I think it's because they grow up the fearless part. It's the surfing. It's they're out there. They're not afraid to do that stuff. They've been around that. That you have to be fearless to be a good surfer.
You do. Exactly.
I'm serious. Yeah. I really believe this. I know it might sound crazy.
I mean, and you've got tsunamis. Like Panay Sewell was talking about how
those guys.
I mean, they're getting on the highest hill mountain to avoid the.
Anyway,
it's incredible.
Where can you get that breakdown?
Interesting that Miami did trade our guy Chase Edmonds.
So
the beautiful mind of Chase Edmonds, the goal long curse, he's gone. It just was. I don't know. It wasn't a fit.
Right. It happens. And credit to everybody involved. Hey, didn't work. We tried. Let's move on.
Had a handful of drops.
Which I didn't know that about him.
Yeah,
drops. I always
they
thought
signed him for his hands.
Yeah, I never.
The
saw
Bills
that
wanted
before.
him. The Bills thought they were going to sign him. Chase was ready to sign with the Bills, and he took a look at those taxes and said, state of Florida. Well, now he's in Colorado. Which I don't know their taxes.
I don't either, but there's other things good out in Colorado. He'll be happy with. There's some good laws out there too. But but I'll tell you this. This is when now this is fun after the trade. Now you see how these guys, now the second half's about just getting used to your new team, fitting in. Because it's never that easy. The great players kind of go wherever, especially defense. But you are moving. There is life involved. I mean, there is a transition. So that's why I like seeing now what happens with these teams. Now the injuries, Bengals battling with Chase's injuries. So you're finding out, some depth. You're finding out things about your team.
Just to stay on Miami for more, let's not forget that Mike McDaniel was the brains behind San Francisco's run game, which next to Baltimore, which is incorporating the quarterback. I mean, they had the best run game in the NFL. In Cleveland last 2-3 years. So this offense is so Tua-centric right now. Like they're in the dome, they're on fast turfs, they're in good weather. I feel like they're throwing it around a lot. They've got all this speed. I think that McDaniel's kind of thinking a few moves ahead here. He's no dummy. He knows the weather's going to turn. If they want to go the distance, they've got to win in Buffalo
or KC
or
Baltimore
or Baltimore, right? It could get ugly.
Good. I like this. I like this.
They know, is their line as good as San Francisco? No, not close. But what did he do at the trade deadline? He brought in an old friend, Jeff Wilson. Now they got Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson.
I love when coaches do that.
Two guys he's familiar with.
I love
that scheme. Yep. And James Edmonds, I can remember it wasn't our conversation for so long. It was around the same time at training camp with the throng of reporters out there. He meticulously broke down why that run scheme was so difficult to learn. It's different. I mean, that wide zone, if you're not used to it, with the timing and how things have to sync up.
Running backs have styles, just like quarterbacks. Running backs have styles too, right? You got to fit them into that scheme. There are different schemes for running. I think that's maybe not talked about enough.
That's going to be the key. I mean, if Miami's actually going to not just threaten Buffalo or Kansas City, but overtake them, they've got to be able to play both ways. They got to be able to get into that playoff game and win with the run if they have to.
Yeah. The scary thing about I don't think any of those teams. Honestly, Cincinnati is the team on defense that I think maybe could give the Bills and Chiefs maybe a little bit. But I haven't seen that defense like I thought it would be this year.
And then they just lost Chidobe Awuzie, their shutdown corner for the year.
And that's where I feel like Cincy is. Like, that defense isn't right, which I thought they were with that secondary pass rush. I don't know if any of these defenses can threaten KC. That's how I feel. That's why I think I feel strong about Buffalo and KC. Who can at least make them earn their points, Or is it a straight shootout?
I mean, Burrow and Jamar Chase have something really special. To lose that, you could see it. Their offense was just pedestrian without Jamar Chase. I like T. Higgins. I like Tyler Boyd, but Chase is the player that just took that offense to a different level because of what he has with Joe Burrow. Where they're going to need him back. And by the time he comes back, where's Cincinnati going to be in the AFC? Right. Yeah. Talking myself out of picking Cincinnati to win the division.
It's just a go long prediction.
No, it's not just.
No, here's what I was going to say.
More important than any bet.
We recover from bad predictions on go long. We don't get fired over it. You didn't fire me for saying I thought the Carolina Panthers might be good this year. I didn't fire you. I didn't go to Gina asking for you to stop when you thought Jared Goff was a good quarterback, and I still bet on him because you talked me into it.
It's gonna need a little bit more time, Jim. Just needs a little more time.
Are they gonna win anymore ever again?
They might be Green
Bay.
I mean,
actually, I agree with you on that. Actually, I was looking at that. I was looking at Detroit again. I'm like, all right, this is a good transition into the NFC. Because here we go.
What a huge game for Green Bay.
No doubt.
Huge.
The NFC is so wide open.
Except they lose their 3-6, and you start to wonder, is the quarterback going to check out like he did in 2018, McCarthy's last year? Very real possibility. If they win, they're 4-5 in a muddled NFC. you're right on the precipice of sneaking into the playoffs and maybe doing some damage. And did they find a formula there against Buffalo? They actually committed to the run, something they should have done.
Maybe that's Aaron Rodgers' role. Maybe he doesn't want to be the 1 seed. Maybe he's tired of Green Bay so much he wants to go on the road. He doesn't.
I'm sure that will be the next topic of McAfee. This is all part of the math.
He wants to go back to Cali. He wants to play in San Fran. Hey, I've heard that real quick that you said about McDaniel in Miami. Did you ever ask Kyle Shanahan if McDaniel was the architect behind the 49ers?
We don't really know, do we?
Well, if you asked him, I think I know what his answer would be.
No.
Yeah. That's all right. That was more just.
Kyle Shanahan doesn't have an ego, does he?
He gives McDaniel all the credit. But let's stay back to the NFC though. Love the NFC too. Different than the AFC, where the AFC is like quarterback elite. Just you're not welcome. You're not welcome. Like this is an elite club right now.
Yeah.
As far as the top 3, 4, I'm going to put Burrow there, and Herbert, and all these other guys knocking on the door. The NFC. 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins. Philly, Jalen Hurts. These are good football teams with kind of not elite that we would say in that class of quarterbacks, which goes against, but for the NFC right now, they are the elite in the NFC. And they are what's battling on the whole. Like you did a great job on Minnesota this year. You put that out early, and wow, they're buying in. It's pretty clear what the issue was there. And then to see Philly cater to Hurts' strengths, to see, and I know we talked about this before the season, we thought I was crazy on predictions. But I said Jimmy G would be the quarterback.
You did?
Because you don't bring him back unless you were scared out of your damn mind of what you're seeing with Trey Lance.
I wonder where the 49ers would be right now if Trey Lance doesn't break his leg. That's a great question. Probably in this
What if I
NFC.
told you that they would be intriguing, but I don't think they would be where they are right now? Man, I think Jimmy. He knows that all. Like they know how to win with Jimmy G. That makes sense.
To a point.
That's what I'm saying. To a point. But if Tart makes that catch, they're in the Super Bowl.
You know what I call. You're right. You're absolutely.
I always
right.
say it every show. I'm trying to convince myself.
As much as I like San Francisco, and I'm right there with you, I feel like we cannot sell Seattle short. I mean, Seattle is a legitimately good football team that could do real damage in the
100%
NFC.
agree.
Like that's a team that can threaten.
What is basically when you're talking about the NFC? Why can't Dallas threaten? Why can't Seattle threaten? Dallas, Seattle, they're all capable of winning the NFC.
Yeah.
Because of what? There is not an elite quarterback that they, you know what I'm saying? They aren't on the Josh Allen. You're not fighting Josh Allen. Aaron Rodgers isn't, he has come back to the pack a little bit. I do think Aaron Rodgers is still playing at a pretty high level, believe it or not.
Got some Geno Smith stats.
Geno's awesome. Let's hear it.
9 touchdowns on 20-plus yard throws, the most in the NFL.
This is the best.
He's got 6 games with multiple passing touchdowns. He had 7 his entire NFL career prior to this season. He's the NFC Offensive Player of the Month, obviously.
He was Jim Monis's Go Longs preseason team to be the worst team in the league.
He had a perfect – I don't know if people saw this when it was 10-10 at the end of the third quarter against the Giants. I mean, throws an absolute
dart. Like dart.
Tyler Lockett dropped it. Boom. I mean, his accuracy right now is freaky.
I feel like this with Geno, which is cool because, he's never had this extended type of really playing time where it was get him in, he's coming out. It's never been really his show in a mature franchise or a mature franchise. And we never saw him unleashed, if that makes sense, in the passing game, right? And now they have done, and you made a great point, John Schneider has done a great job drafting. They have a running back. It's really, I wrote about today, I couldn't have been more wrong, and we joked about my man Pete Carroll for not letting me off the elevator first, but I got to give him credit on this. Well done, Pete and John Schneider. You guys, to transition from Russell Wilson to this, right, is hard to do. The transition, look at Pittsburgh, look at New Orleans. Pittsburgh, New Orleans weren't ready for the transition from the franchise to Seattle. I We know. We know plenty about the Seattle thing. We know they were ready. John Schneider was ready to move on from Russell Wilson years ago.
Yeah.
And guess what? I think we're seeing maybe why. And I don't think it's all and let me say this. I don't think it's all about his, whatever is going on with his personality. I think his play, I was grading them every week. His play was falling down. Russell Wilson. He wasn't the elite playmaker that he was years ago because he was special athletically. He's not anymore. Like the Father Time.
Yeah. His game was so predicated on second reaction. How do you have that second reaction if you're not as athletic, as twitchy, and all of that?
So, well done, Seattle. And yes, another team. I think those are your good long shot bets.
Make that deal. I mean, they see the same thing. They should, right?
They should have.
He went 6-8 as a starter, I think.
You're going to pair up an aging vet with a rookie head coach. Interesting. Wouldn't be my philosophy.
Yeah. Our
philosophy in Buffalo was let's get it fresh, let's get a young coach, and then let's find that young quarterback, pair it up.
Yeah.
That was our philosophy. And it worked as far as they went and, we got Sean, and then they did a great job of getting Josh Allen. But that should be your philosophy. It shouldn't be, hey, let's go get it. It's like the Colts. I don't understand this philosophy of getting these guys who's telling you they can still do this?
I think it's almost like a byproduct of the high stakes nature of the game, where like the Colts, they're so like stunned by the Andrew Luck thing, and at no point can they just look in the mirror and say, at some point you've got to be like, okay, let's just start over at this position.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
You're viewing yourself as a contender, and you're just trying to find somebody that's proven to get by. Like you might have to take a step back before you take a step forward. And I just feel like there's no right or wrong. I mean, we just talked about Geno Smith, leading the contending Seahawks. I get it. But the Colts, season to season, it's like,
if you're in the NFC, if you're the Colts and you're in the NFC, okay, fair enough. You have a defense, you have a running game. Give me that veteran quarterback that I can get to the Super Bowl with in the NFC. Have you studied the AFC, the Colts? Have you looked around what you're trying to beat? It's quarterback in the AFC. You have to find a way to beat those guys. Matt Ryan, that's what you're coming to.
Yeah,
that's what you're coming. That's
it really wasn't pretty at training camp either. When I went on that tour,
Philip Rivers and Carson Wentz. That's what you're trying to beat Mahomes and Josh. Those guys are like,
how they got Ellinger in there. Like, who would have thought?
That's just because they just want to find out about it. Why not? I agree with putting him in. Find him.
Yeah.
Find out. Shit, maybe he does spark you. Who knows? But you're still not. I always think Josh Allen and Mahomes, when the Colts make those signings, like, Matt Ryan's coming to Indy or Philip Rivers. I always think Mahomes and Josh Allen are like those young basketball players when they're playing the vet, and they feel bad. Man, I love that guy. Growing up, he was one of my favorite players. Watching him now, he can't guard me. Like I don't want to drop step like Shaq drop stepping on David Robinson.
Well, it's like I love that it's making the rounds for that picture of Patrick Ewing with the Magic.
Oh, it's awesome!
I saw that with the Raptors on the block.
Yes, that's so. It is making the rounds.
It's like Russell and Brady and Rodgers.
All that. Yeah. But man, it's just those guys like. Remember when he was? Well, we talked about. I never thought Josh Allen should have been compared to Cam Newton. It's not even comparable. He's so much better.
I've got a couple of theories, but I want to hear yours first. Like, why is the quarterback play just kind of down this year?
It is. And from watching these games every week, too, I don't want to say it because I hate this. Don't ever want to say it's because of the lack of offseason. I am never going into that. I will always believe there's a lot of young quarterbacks. The college game is so completely different than the NFL game. I'll never understand it. We always call college football free minor league, but it really isn't, where they're not learning the NFL game. They're learning that system for that coach at college to get his $12 million, right? And get on his championship and get, all that.
Yeah.
Now you have to go and play football in the NFL, and it's a process. as we're seeing. Trevor Lawrence as my perfect example. As Dabo keeps getting contract extensions. But Trevor didn't learn the NFL offense like no Clemson quarterbacks do, right? Which was a concern. Ohio State, their quarterback play really coming out hasn't been, right? These are system quarterbacks that are recruited to win you the title. Now, Trevor Lawrence obviously is plenty talented enough, I don't want to say it in Fields too. But I'm just saying it's not natural. It's not easy.
Well, I just have the imagery of, this all really began to shift with Chip Kelly's offense in Oregon, where they're holding up the poster boards of the pictures. And it's like, all right, so you think intellectually,
what are they
as
doing?
a quarterback, yeah, but it's like one word, one picture, signals, boom, this is what you're running. And it's
boom, first
there's
snap,
not a lot of thinking.
Snap, you know where you're going with the ball right away.
Where the NFL requires thinking from that position.
Improvise. Look at the throws Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, Joe Burrow make under pressure. You don't get that in college.
Right.
You have the best offensive line that's keeping you upright. Like it's really the best. It's really what separates it. I think about it so much when you evaluate quarterbacks in college now. Look for the guy that is making those insane throws that
Which
don't
is
make
what
sense.
Wyoming.
Mahomes did. And Brett Favre did, who I thought Mahomes was. And I overthought it, thinking that style might not work in the NFL. But I'm just saying where it can, you can see don't overthink it. Take that, because you need that, because the guys on defense, they are the best athletes on the planet on defense. Do you know how hard it is to play on defense? It's all about spacing on defense. Explosion, speed, and spacing. You have to be so quick twitch and athletic all the time. Tackling is athleticism. Covering a player is athleticism. Rushing is power, athleticism. It's all the important. These guys are monsters. Like I just respect defensive players so much because the rules are against them.
Man, Jim, this is why I'm so lucky to have you as a podcast co-host. That's such a phenomenal point.
Sorry, I just got passionate on that. That was my scouting. Like
that's what you got to find a trait that is going to rise above
the stats. Study the stats.
Yeah. Because what was the criticism of Mac Jones? Okay, yeah, his completion percentage is through the roof, but what does he do?
What's he going to improvise?
That is special. And I started to kind of open my mind up to the argument last year, when they're winning every week for a month and a half, that maybe that special trait is his mind. That he's seen the game quick.
No question.
Right?
And that is a special trait.
But, if Zach Wilson doesn't give that game away, they lose to the Jets. He's in this quasi-quarterback competition with Bailey Zappi out of Western Kentucky. This isn't the plan. This was not the plan for Mac Jones. So he doesn't have that Josh Allen-esque.
No, that's very few. But
but
to your point,
there was never one trait that just popped up. So here's the natural follow-up. So is there a quarterback out there? Maybe he's up and down. Maybe he hasn't really emerged yet. That does have that one trait deep within that can combat this world that you're describing.
Like in the NFL right now, maybe?
Yeah. Because that's the Jets thinking, right?
I was just going to say the one guy that made
he can make it.
I'm so down on him right now, so here we go.
Yeah, that's the extreme.
They don't even throw the ball down the field, the Jets. They're one of the worst yards per attempt.
They're trying to hide it.
He can't make decisions. His mental, the game, and I talked about this last year, and I'm not seeing any improvement in Zach Wilson with the mental speed of the game. He can't, it's too fast for him. Yeah. He's making horrible decisions. But the one guy that comes to mind that's untapped is him. That he can do throw that.
Yeah.
How did that happen? He does do that.
He's going to be a maddening player.
More than Trevor Lawrence does. He can do that. He can improvise more than Fields and Lawrence as far as making the Mahomes Allen throw. He would have that.
All three of those picks were so inexcusable too. He should not have thrown. They weren't even like a great play by the defender. It was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
There's concerns.
Do they have a shot against Buffalo? They're at home.
Here's the only reason. Because first, it's football and nobody knows what the hell is going to happen. 2, Bills have some injuries on defense. For the first time I'm seeing some guys pop up on the injury list. So you put those two factors together, always a chance.
Yeah.
And the Jets are playing good defense.
Yeah.
Really good defense. So the Bills are going to have to earn their points. Can the Jets score when they can't turn the ball over, right? Wilson can't. That's every game. But for a team like that plays good defense like the Jets, you can win this game. Anytime you play good defense, you can win.
If they had Breece Hall, I could maybe see a lane, but
man, he looked good.
He did. I just can't see it.
No, I'm with you. I don't see it either. I don't see it. You're asking if they can. I'm giving you why they could. Now, third down. Pay attention to third down a little bit. The Jets are 21st, I think, on third down offense. But if you see something like that, like the Jets hitting some third downs early in the game, that can be an indicator that, okay, this game might be a little different than we expected, something like that. But the Bills should win.
So you got
great analysis. The Bills should beat the Jets. Why you?
How many beers have you had, Jim? I'm gonna cut you off.
That's the thing. You can get that from a second grader.
I know. Oh man, so we want to definitely do these hangouts at
Fatty Fridays. I'm liking the Fatty Friday.
I like it. But let's do another tailgate.
Tailgate was more fun.
Catchy as Bills
tailgate.
fans
Let's do
on a
tailgate.
game.
Sure. If it's a 1 p.m. game, we have to do it.
We'll have copies of the Blood and Guts for you. We'll sign them. Thank you everybody who bought a copy when we had our shindig here before the Packers game.
You know what Blood and Guts has really brought out? Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
You brought it up when you first did the. I remember way back when we were talking about, you were doing your stories, but it's fun to see people reacting to it. They forget about how good that offense was.
I tell you, well, I mean, one of the great things about writing a book is it naturally forces you to stay off of Twitter, which is great, because you've got to be watching games on YouTube all day. You just can't get out of those rabbit holes, one after another. And those Dan Fouts, San Diego Charger teams, oh my God. I mean, that was before I was born. I couldn't stop watching. They are so fun to watch. They'd score 60 points a game in today's NFL. It was amazing.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, so they're the Kellen Winslow chapter is as much a Fouts, Coryell, Chargers innovation chapter. I mean, I think the book is more about life and these moments of struggle that all these tight ends went through that kind of define them. But there is some X's and O's mixed in here. If that's your thing, we've got a lot of X's and O's.
Yeah.
And that chapter especially innovated the game, the position,
the tight ends evolving. Yeah. I like how you always and how you took it through the time like that. And I always would love to, like, Jimmy Graham could have played for Fouts, right? They would have been a great combo. Like, I love
Jimmy
picturing
Graham, he's about as close to Kellen Winslow as
that. Well, that's what made me think. Because that's
a really good comp.
Yeah. Just a straight receiving matchup.
But tough as shit too.
And
Jimmy Graham was tougher than anybody knew. You saw it, like
tough like this. Tough as they are not afraid to go over the middle and make a catch and take a hit.
Yeah.
Tough to finish a block or sustain a block.
He's not going to be in line, front side blocking for Pierre Thomas. I'm not saying that.
I'm joking. So tough. Jimmy was tough. Bottom line, coming from what he came from,
tough.
The way he played on the basketball court was pure tough. Nobody wanted to deal with him. It was all rebounds, block shots, get out of my way, just like Chris Manhurts, who's still playing in the NFL, by the way.
Yeah.
Which I love. And tough. It's the number one thing. If you're scouting, start there. If they aren't tough, move on.
Beautifully said.
Well, Fatty Friday.
Fatty Friday is another one in the books. Thanks, everybody, for watching, listening. We greatly appreciate it. Be sure to, we don't say this enough, but rate us, review us on Apple, Spotify. We appreciate it. That's how we keep this thing growing. And be on the lookout for our next hangout.
Yeah, let's do
it again.
Yeah.
I may or may not be in Miami next week, Jim, so we might have to go remote. Sorry. Leaving me for Miami.
I thought you were going to say, I feel like you're going to be heading to Hawaii next to do a real in-depth story on Tua. You have to go all the way.
Yeah, sorry, hon. I got to go to Hawaii for a week. You got the kids.
Let me know how that goes. That was good as my prediction with the Rams. And me and Chris predicted the Rams to beat the 49ers.
That'd be game over. Hey, I want to say congrats to loyal reader, listener Kyle Trimble. He was here at the Fed. He just had his baby today. So Kyle,
cheers.
here
Go
he is
long,
at Fatty
cheers.
like 5 days ago, and his wife's pregnant, and he to show the commitment to show up and drink beer with us. I don't know how he was able to talk his wife into that. Hey, honey, I'm sorry, I got to go drink some beers with Ty and Jim.
I would say that there was a good conversation that was made.
Yeah.
Good for him.
We appreciate it.
That was fun, Kyle.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you soon, guys.